Hello, friends. Good morning and welcome back to Love Wrestling. Spencer Love here on the eve of yet another major weekend in professional wrestling. The National Wrestling Alliance heading to Illinois for NWA 312. And you got to get the belts on the show when you're heading into a major show. The NWA World's Women's Tag Team Champions joining me, Madi Wrenkowski, Missa Kate. Good morning, ladies. How are you doing today on the eve of your first title defense?
I mean, I'm doing well. We have the title, so it's pretty nice. I don't know about the other girls,
Missa, how are you doing?
Like how she said, we're doing pretty solid. We're not too worried about this weekend. I think it's going to be after this weekend. We're going into, what is it? What are we on? Day 45 right now? Day 46?
I was
yeah,
just going to say 44 to 46, depending on which one of your social medias we're on. I tried to do my research, but let me tell you, math ain't my strong suit, but I can guarantee whatever day it may be, you guys are the women's tag team champions. Madi, I'll ask you first. You are a previous tag team champion, but now you've got some major gold under your belt, so to speak. How's it feel to be a champion in the NWA this relatively shortly into your career? 4 years is a pretty short time in the grand scheme of things.
yeah. It's pretty surreal, especially. I don't know. It didn't really seem like that was in the cards for us. We weren't really sure how our tag team was going, but the fact that I was able to get us that little that Champion Cup series, that little cash in, that just seemed like the ticket. And regardless whether it was Pretty Empowered 2.0 or the Renegades, either way, Missa Kate and I are just kind of like on a different level. So either way, when we cashed in, I knew that it was going to be pretty great, and it feels great, and it's a little, again, surreal. I think this first title defense will maybe make it sink in a little bit more, because how we won it was really fast.
Be able to do this in your hometown, your home state, in front of, I would assume, a ton of family and friends for your first ever tag team title defense.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a whole different pressure. It's a whole different pressure, but it's like also a big motivator also because now I'm like from traveling a lot, my family doesn't get to travel with me. So now that I'm coming home and they get to see me, it's really neat for them and for us to have the titles and to defend them and win them, of course, after. It's going to be great.
How did think you guys work together at all, if very rarely, prior to joining the NWA? So, Madi, maybe I'll ask you first, but how did your tag team really form initially?
Great question. So yeah, I actually had never met or interacted with Missa Kate up until coming to work for the NWA. I'm not entirely sure how exactly it formed, but us as people, I feel like came together because we kind of have the same, like, she has that rough, like, Chicago air to her. And I think that for me, I also share that kind of air. Hers is a little bit more rough, but we're both very real and not afraid to tell people like it is. Her a little bit more than myself. Texas taught me well, just not that well. But I think our personalities matched really well. And we kind of have that same like love for wrestling. And then just we're very similar. We're not fake to each other or anyone else. And I feel like that's just something that kind of stuck.
Things that maybe you guys are looking to for inspiration. Like you said, you're relatively new as a team. Maybe you got to get some inspo, despite being the main character, Miss Reality and Chicago's Sweetheart, of course, respectively. Missa, maybe I'll let you take that one.
So I'm not gonna lie, I like cut out half of what you said. Can you repeat that?
You betcha. Sorry about that. Just maybe, are there any tag teams that you guys do look to for inspiration, being so relatively new into your run together?
I mean, I guess if you go tape study wise, right? So I'm like, I've been watching a lot of Eddie Chavo. If you want to go like female wise, I guess you got Lita and Trish, right, going on right now. Well, Becky and Lita, but I don't know. There's a lot of tag teams, and I think it's hard to study or look at certain people because Maddie and I feel like are our own entity. We are new. We're not like a typical. Again, this is just my opinion. Like we're not. I don't know. I just feel like we're a different kind of tag team that you normally see, especially for a females division. Nothing against anybody else. Again, everybody has their place. That's what I feel like. So I think it's definitely looking up to certain people and getting ideas. Like, we've had previous champions like the Hex. Definitely, they've had the belts for a long time. So just from a veteran aspect, definitely want to follow their footsteps as far as like how they carried the belts. At the same time, though, Maddie and I are still looking to make our own mark. So I look up to Maddie. She looks up to me.
Great answer. Well, and Maddie, what makes Missa, is it a side character at this point, a co-lead? Like, being the main character yourself, where would you put your tag team partner in that?
No further questions.
Well played. What was the genesis of side character spotlight? Because man, I'm sure I'm far from the only person to tell you it's entertaining as fuck to watch. But what was the genesis of it?
Yeah. So because like you're around a lot of people, like when you go and you're doing weekends of wrestling, and so one of the tapings, Kylan just kept saying that she was the motherfucking king, and I was like, at the base level of that, what does that actually mean? Because that's just kind of like the weird humor in the way my brain works. And so, like, literally, because I love it when people cuss, because when people cuss, they just put random like cuss words together, and I'm like, my brain is like, oh, what does that mean? What does that mean? And how do those fit together? So when she says the motherfucking king, it's literally a mother or a king that's fucking mothers. And so I decided to ask her why she chose that moniker, because I love looking at people's monikers and thinking like, why?
Is there anybody that you're particularly looking to have on as a side character?
I mean, not really. I don't look forward to them. They look forward to me. I think that's how this works.
Makes sense. No further questions on that end of
No
things.
further questions.
Missa, you're taking on somewhat, I guess, the team that you guys defeated for the titles in Pretty Empowered. Obviously, a change up in the lineup, for lack of a better way to put it. But are you approaching this one any differently? Obviously, it is a bit more of a full-fledged match, for lack of a better way to put it, than the proverbial Money in the Bank, for lack of a better way. So how are you guys approaching this one as a team?
Well, we did originally have a match against Pretty Empowered, OGs, we'll say, right? Kenzie and Ella. Minor miscommunication. We're still a little fresh in our tag team. We got our shit together now. But now we got Pretty Empowered 2.0 coming, so that's where it's going to be kind of new. With Riley coming into play, and yeah, she's newer, and Ella's definitely good at with like her little mind games, and she wants to play and she wants to be loud and stuff like that. So, but I mean, she could be loud and talk all she wants. She's just gonna get hit in the mouth.
Stiff, so to speak. I like it. As we close it out here, I just wanted to ask both of you about the women's division in the NWA. You look at some of the talent you have, and even just the sheer amount of talent that you guys have. Just maybe speak to its growth, speak to where it's at now, and maybe even compared to where it's at a year ago. Maddie, start with you.
Good.
I mean, for me personally, I do remember coming into the NWA locker room and there wasn't that many women. And so to see how it's grown, not only in diversity, but just in like the age as well. They are starting to bring in some younger talent. And I feel like I'm not like an old talent, but I feel like it's helpful to have had like the Hex and Taya and Taryn, even just these women who have been in the business, like able to like speak to us and help us. I think the women's division is growing. And I personally can go on record in saying that I think the women's division is more entertaining than the men's division. I mean, that's what I go see. So I think we have made leaps and bounds, and I think it's because the women realized maybe that it was time for the change, and they started doing it. Angelina Love's there, just everyone that we have. Missa, I guess.
Missa, is that something you'd agree with?
100%. Yeah, it's definitely I think I'm not sure who started between Maddie or I, who went there first. I think it might have been
the same time.
Was it? Oh, was the same? Okay.
It
Same
was that one time.
Okay, there was that one time. But yeah, no, so it's just like I remember when I was there, it kind of was like it felt like they were trying to figure out the women's division. They're trying to redefine it. They're trying to again, every locker room needs to have a flow, has to have some kind of mesh. So I think they were trying to figure out the locker room and which women um we could have here that is going to take the NWA women's division to a new height. So just like Maddie was saying, now they're finding a good balance of having newer girls come in, having the vets like lead us, and we got Maddie and me smack in the middle that are just like we're trying to figure shit out. But I think we're doing all right for ourselves. But yeah, and then having females that have been in the business as agents for a while. We have Jazz, we have Medusa, constantly being there for us, like if we have questions and stuff like that. So we have, as much as you see in front of the camera, behind the camera as well, we have women just killing it all over the place right now.
That's got to be huge to get the opportunity to learn from people like that, hey?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
crazy because I'm like, I remember big Medusa fan, Medusa Bonacana. So I'm like luckily when I go to work I can kind of like shut the fangirl off a little bit, but there's still like times where I'm like talking and I'm just kind of like, oh, I remember like studying you. This is kind of creepy, but so it's kind of cool.
You can shut it off mostly, it sounds like. Well, very cool. Ladies, best of luck in your tag team title defense, your first ever tag team title defense this Friday, April 7th in Chicago, Illinois at NWA 312. Tune in on Fight TV and make sure that you are tuning into NWA Power on YouTube. Miss, I'll turn to you first. Where can the people find you online in between, of course, your upcoming successful title defense?
All right, I'm gonna keep this super, super like simple. Instagram, Twitter, Missa Kate 11. There's links there to tell you all about the merch and all that other fun stuff. And Amazon wish list. I like stuff. Give me stuff.
I like it. Madi, where can the people find you as well?
Yeah, you can find me on any social media platform under Madi_Wrenkowski. That's WRENKOWSKI. You can spell it, you can find it. And as well in my bios, there's a link tree to everything you need.
Supporting the people who supported us. Friends, thank you so much for hopping on the show this morning, and thank you for tuning in. Make sure you're supporting Love Wrestling wherever podcasts are played, videos are viewed, or great content's created by great people. Friends, for Madi, for Missa Kate, the NWA Women's Tag one.